Hi, Mr. Karthikeyan. Is my screen visible? I have shared my screen.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay. So this is my student account for the practice and training purpose. This is my AWS account, if you could see.
Okay.
So when we talk about Azure, it is there is something called as virtual machine. So in the same service is called as instances in AWS. So AWS has beautiful services like Lambda service, which is completely serverless with some connections and with some connections and role-based access and some uh, like conditions given provided we can create this particular function called an automatic function like a trigger to happen things automatically. So this is completely serverless a service which is available in this AWS, which will be giving us a good this good heads up in this cost optimization. So when we talk about Azure, Azure does have a serverless service as well. Okay. Now,
Mm.
this is server-based service, which is called instances, a virtual machine. So if you could see my machine,
So you
this is,
mentioned like some serverless. Sorry to interrupt. So you mentioned some serverless, right? So what does mean that serverless?
yeah. So we do have laptop, we do have system, a hardware system, a component, from where we will be having its own IP address, MAC address, and etc. Its public IP and its private IP and etc. Yes, likewise, this is something similar to it. A computer, a virtual computer created here is server based. This will act as a server. This machine will act as a server. It will have its own VPC, virtual private cloud, its networking system, its own storage, its own security gateways, its own monitoring systems and limitations, status and alarm. So it is going to be a constant and a platform where we can run anything like we can go ahead into it and we can go ahead and add an SQL database if we wanted to, or else if we wanted to run a Node.js platform, yes, we can go ahead and run. So it will act in such a way. But when we talk about serverless, there is no need for us to go create a mission like this. This is my Linux mission here. So there's no need for me to go create a mission and then add in all the installations and dependencies and supporting files for me to go ahead and proceed further with whatever that I have to initiate. Okay, this will work as a server, and the server, whatever that we have input given as an input, will be accessed here. But when we talk about serverless function like Lambda, what it does, let's say, for example, I wanted only one service to be accessed, and I do not wanted to go and create a big EC2 instances for me to go and access only that particular services. I will go create a function here. Let's say, for example, mine is going to be a Python project, and my all my inputs are going to be based on Python. I'll go add in the details of whatever I wanted to, and let me create a function name. If I created, it's just a demo. So if I created that particular Python based functions will be working. So there's no need for me to go create a huge server, which is like an EC2 instances, which will have its own CPU, which will have its own bill generated for giving the storage. It will have its own VPC. We have to set up subnet and volumes, and we should be adding its a particular security system and whatnot and what else. There are so many things that we have to focus on when we talk about creating a mission. So, for a small activity to be done, there is no need for us to go ahead and create a huge machine like this. Instead, we can go to Lambda service and ask a Lambda to work on only that particular service. Let's say only if I wanted only a database, I can go add type in database and I can go add some functionalities here, print, download, whatever I wanted to wanted this lambda function to do. I have to go and add in this requirements here, and then I'll go proceed further by creating a function. That action is done, performed with the help of this lambda function without creating a huge machine. Whenever we create a huge machine, it hits up with cost. For example, huge machines which is having like 4 CPU or this is how I'll create a mission. Please focus. I'm going to name my mission. I'm going to select the particular OS preferable of my choice. Here, when we talk about instances type, if you could see, if I'm going to do a basic level project, yes, 2 CPUs with 1 GB memory is enough. But when you see this, 0.0112 USD per hour for Linux based. If it's going to be Windows based, 0.0204 USD per hour. Can you see that?
Yeah.
If I wanted to upgrade my machine, you can see T2 extra large, family type T2, 4 CPU, 16 GB memory, and it is going to be built 0.2984 USD per hour. And when we move to another larger machine, 8 CPU, 32 GB, and we will be like half a dollar, 0.4588 USD per hour. So the moment when we create an EC2 mission, this particular USD will be counted on. We will be charged for renting this AWS space, this mission, and we will be provided with the bill at the end of our month. So that is the reason why we stop using this. We mostly, preferably, if it's going to be a small function, we would not go create a new mission. Rather, we will go here to Lambda service for a small function to be done or a bigger function to be done. We'll go create a Lambda function here and we'll go serverless. Somehow, whether it is going to be server based or serverless, that function will be done. So in order to cost optimize, we always prefer this lambda services. This lambda services, what it does, without any OS or any particular base to run, it will just accept the work or take up the work or take up this trigger or whatever work we are going to assign it and add work as a small like an assistant for the particular work or job that we prefer to assign. Can you understand, Mr. Karthikeyan?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, majorly, when we talk about the serverless, nowadays we to avoid this server issues as well, we prefer going to this serverless services like Lambda. I believe you could have known what is the serverless, if I'm not wrong.
Sorry, come again.
I believe that you could understand what a serverless right now.
Yeah, 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 I can understand. So basically, so just wanted to understanding. So yeah, that's fine. So currently, I mean, whatever you just generally what compare the features the cloud computing related, right? And predominantly, I would prefer the Azure related. So the similar way you can go with the Azure also, right? So currently, you're
Yes.
applying the AWS one, right?
Yes, as I
Okay.
mentioned earlier, I just
Yeah,
wanted to give you
yeah,
both heads up.
yeah, 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 correct. So is it possible to, before going to the service level, the what is the basic kind of cloud computing we do have a certain basic things, right?
Yes, yes.
So is it
Let
possible
me.
to walk through that? Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. So it will be helpful for me to the at least the basic level, the cloud
Yeah,
computing
sure, sure.
thing.
Definitely.
Then yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So now, so let me continue and share you the PPT. So, as we have done till now here, AWS is having something called S3 here. So S3 is a virtual cloud. Okay, so virtual cloud storage space where we can store 5 GB or to 5 TB of storage and make use of it. We can even share this particular storage space with one of your colleagues. See, if you are my colleague and we both are working in the same time. Let's say we both are working in different time zones for a same project. Let's say let's consider you have worked and you have stored all your data and information inside this storage, virtual storage, and by the end of the day, you have just added me and given me acknowledgement for me to access your particular storage spaces, which is in your account. Okay, so this AWS S3 service will help us get access for this particular storage for multiple persons in this different region. So let's say, for example, I have a huge database and I wanted to add this huge database into a service, a virtual cloud service, and I wanted my client to view that particular service each and every time I update it. Okay, so what I do, I'll create this S3 bucket and I'll go ahead and I will be like adding all the details for which my client should see at the end of the day. And I will add my client as a viewer or else a read permission for this particular client for him or her to check on all the updates, whatever I am using relevant to the work. Okay, so this is a huge storage space where it can be used as a backup, where it can be used as a shared data, where it can be used for assigning few tasks or whatever content, whether it's going to be an image file, video file, audio file, or a program file, whatever it can be, despite of any file type. This AWS S3 this service is capable of taking those particular files in the form of objects, and it will help us to access as a backup, as a recovery. At the same time, it is shareable. So this is one of the beautiful services in cloud. Though you use Azure, there are certain spaces where you have to go and use this Azure and AWS all together. So make sure you know all the basic services which are more or less similar in Azure as well as AWS. Creating up just a moment. Okay. Can you help me with any good name?
Sorry. Mm.
Would you mind helping me with creating a good name here?
Yeah, I can go with my name. So, but just wanted to. But this is kind of one. Actually, I just wanted to reiterate, ma'am. So basically, so my purpose of this thing, I plan for the certain certification for my upcoming upskill program, my
Okay.
organization. So I need to complete my certification before. I mean, they given certain time period. So, so I wanted to certain basic things also. So, like, so you were talking about some related to some computer related, right? So basically, that's what I'm just wanted to know the from the beginning. So directly jump into that
Okay, okay,
service
okay. I
related.
understand.
Yeah. So I
I
need
completely
the
understand.
cloud, cloud computing related. What is the basic things? So there are many service model and many deployment models kind of thing, right? So I need that from the scratch. So
Okay,
then only I
okay.
can able to proceed my certification thing. So
Sure,
that's what.
sure. No worries. Let me help you
Uh,
with that. So just bear with me a moment. Let me log into my Microsoft account.
yeah, even before going
Please
to the
do not hesitate to ask any doubts or anything of in that case. And please, I'm so sorry for making this class bit delayed and today, but because I was just like I was working for a half a day in my work, and I was like just jumped into this class, so I didn't have much time to give you a lot of introduction, which I normally do. Okay, so please bear with me. So let me have Josh by our second class, which is tomorrow.
okay.
Okay, so if you could understand here, see here first. So this is Azure account, my Microsoft Azure account, which you will be needing to create. Okay, when I and this is my AWS account. Both are cloud platforms. Yes.
Yeah,
So both have storage service, serverless service, role-based service, and Azure has a particular service called Azure DevOps and Azure App Service and proxy function app, and there are like we could handle DNS, and we could go help migration service. See, Azure Migrate, Azure Database Migration Projects, Azure Database Migration Services, and etc. and etc. If you could see this, yes. But when we talk about AWS, there's something called AWS Migration Hub, Database Migration Service, okay, DBMS, and application migration service. So when you're going to work on this migration, cloud migration in general, your organization might ask you to go for a certificate, but the real thing they wanted or expect in any organization is the functionality, especially the migration part where we are going to work. Yes, if I'm not wrong.
yeah,
So whether it is going to be AWS or Azure, migration service is available in both platforms, if you could see. So what is this migration? So let me give you a heads up. Let's consider me having a GoDaddy account. So I believe you know what is GoDaddy, or else let me explain this to you. So GoDaddy or or hosting. So these are all web hosting platforms or domain creating platforms. If I'm going to be, I'm a business entrepreneur. I wanted to push my business to the next level. I wanted my organization to have my employees to have their own internal office ID. Let's say for abc.com. Okay, so Karthikeyan at the date of abc.com. If you are a Cape Gemini worker, or a Wipro worker, Karthikeyan at wipro.com or whatever. Yes, so the .com can be purchased here. These people are providing good service on creating a domain. At the same time, they help us go create databases as well. See, you can see something called transfer domain names. Can you see that?
Okay.
Okay. Can you see websites here? A website will be automatically built. Okay, let's assume I have my own business created already, and I have my business. Let's say I'm a fashion technologist. I do have a good business in my locality, and for true, this is let's consider this is my organization Apex Planner. Uh, so. I have a good database of my customer. I do have a lot of things like customer details, email details, their purchase, their or warehouse management, and etc. All details are there in my GoDaddy account. But unfortunately, GoDaddy is not supporting me with my international clients. Okay, so what I'm planning is I would like to migrate this my business into Azure. Okay, or AWS. What I would do, I'll go take my domain name. I'll go to my products. I'll take my domain name. Let's say, for example, Uma Shivakumar at apexplanet.com is going to be my name or business name. I'll go make sure I'll go for a URL, or else if I wanted to upload a template, if I wanted to sync through a Git, or else if I wanted to create a new complete infrastructure, I'll go here and create and add in all the details of my business here. If you could see here. Register a domain, transfer domain, create hosted zones, configure traffic flow, check health checks, configure resolvers. So can you see this, Mr. Karthikeyan? These are all the vital services. Can you see when we talk about cloud, this
Yeah.
cloud is helping us to migrate databases from one source to another source. Now let's consider this this GoDaddy is a network which is available only in India. If I wanted to internationalize this business, if I wanted to make this worldwide, what I'll go catch up with a worldwide service. See, the moment when I typed this migration service, this mode got changed into global, which will be covering all maximum regions which is related to this, which is accessible by this AWS in this whole world. Okay. And at the same time, when we create, See, the location is Japan East here. So we will be working on international service, this which is global mode here as well. So according to the nature of the service, the nature of the migration we do, this particular location and service will be changed. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were asking about those migration and these things, these are all essential. The moment when we start to transfer this domain, it will also have all the database migrated inside it. Everything will be under the control of AWS the moment when we start transferring our domain. Okay, Mr. Karthikeyan, are you able to understand? I'm not teaching you AWS. I'm just giving you a heads up on what cloud does. What are all services that this market like market bounced services that we should be knowing. That is what I'm giving you an introduction of.
Mhm.
Okay, Mr.
Okay.
Karthikeyan.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's
So
not
this is
something
kind
like
of
AWS or Azure.
migration.
Mm.
Sorry to interrupt. So this is kind of specific database migration you meant to say, or the
It's
transfer of
general migration.
domain?
If we wanted, we
But
particularly wanted only this database migration. There's a particular service.
but generally, for my use case, kind of we do have currently the on-premises kind of thing. So predominantly majority of thing we have on-premises. So that kind of application moving from the on-premises to cloud environment. That's what kind of migration from our end. That's what the future plan.
Okay, would you, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Would you mind type your query and send it to me? Why? Because the voice is breaking. I'm not sure whether the fault is from my network or your network, but I'm unable to catch your words.
Mhm.
Would you
Yeah,
mind sending me as a text in this WhatsApp group or in this chat?
yes, sir. I'll send it. Yeah, yeah. Probably you can go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. So, but when we talk about this same database migration in Azure, there is some service called. See here, it is database migration service in AWS. Here it is called SQL. See, SQL Server Database. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is where the migrated SQL databases will be piled up here. Excuse me. We have to go ahead. We have to create our own service here. The moment all the databases are run or migrated here, we can access those database and transfer those database wherever we wanted in cloud or to our client by giving them access. Okay, the moment all the database is like, let's say for example, like likewise in GoDaddy, if I have a business in DigitalOcean, I wanted to migrate all the database from DigitalOcean to this Azure SQL. The moment it enters this Azure SQL, the moment it enters this Azure platform, it is understood this particular service is available internationally anywhere in the globe. Okay, so that particular service in Azure is called as SQL Server. Elastic Pool is for a dynamic database. For a static database, we'll go for SQL Server. SQL Server with the database is for large amount of database that are supposed to be handled. This is Azure SQL. If you could see. See, start migration. Migrate your database to Azure. If you could see. Can you see this? Mr. Karthikeyan, I think this is a service that you will be requiring. Mr. Karthikeyan, are you there?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Sorry, I'm unable to mute actually. Yeah, just a minute.
Okay.
I'm audible now, right?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I can see. So Azure database migration service you meant to say, right?
Yes. So this is
Okay.
Azure Database Migration Service, which you will be requiring in your day-to-day work when you start working on this cloud. Yes. So this gives a
So,
major
so
part.
basically, sorry to interrupt. So kind of Azure database migration in the sense is it from the same database? I mean to say from the on-premises to cloud or different databases. Kind of we do have
Anywhere,
multiple different RDBMS, right? Say for example, Oracle, Postgres, SQL kind of thing. So is it migration related to any Oracle to other Postgres, SQL kind of thing, or Oracle to Oracle kind of thing? I'm just to
any
understand.
database of any type will be stored here. But later on, when we segregate the database, it is up to them to go and fetch only SQL. This actually these works are belong to this data engineers. So what is these people do? There's a some role called as, see, as your, see, data breaks. Okay,
Mm.
or else as your, see, there's a particular job called as your data engineer. These people will, what they would do, see, if you could see here, they specialize transforming raw structured or unstructured data into actionable insights, emphasizing this PyShark or SQL or AI integration or whatnot and whatnot. But as you, I am a cloud and DevOps engineer myself. Okay, so what we people will be doing, we'll get to this and we'll start migrating, and we'll get all this whole database inside this particular dashboard. It will be stored inside a dashboard. See, view all of Azure database that you intend to migrate to Azure, like SQL Server, PostgreSQL Server, MySQL Server, Oracle, the thing that you were asking, DB2, Sybase, and more. Any database type can be accessed, can be segregated, can be migrated into Azure.
Okay.
Can you see this here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it is it is open to all. It is ready to take up what any kind of database that is available for it to get migrated into this
Mm.
Azure.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the moment we migrate what kind any kind of data inside it, it will convert and simplify into and segregate into the into what according to the nature of the particular database that we put inside it. Why? Because it is capable of digesting SQL database, PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle, any database in this case. Are you able to follow?
Mm. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So when I especially went into the service, why? Because I thought this will be your requirement. So apart from this, there are many basic services like app service, one of the very basic service, API, understanding of API connections. Okay. Then VM, which is virtual machine. VMware is different. Virtual machine is different. I believe you know that. Do you know that? Any idea of VMware?
Yeah.
And
Mm. Yeah. Can you bit explain about the VMware?
yeah, VMware
Virtual
is
machine,
something.
I'm not. Yeah.
Mhm,
Mm.
mhm.
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. So VMware is something that is connected to a Windows server. Let's say, for example. So this is the commanding interface of my Windows. Yes. If I wanted my local machine and this Azure virtual machine, both of them to get connected. Whatever I do in Azure should be reflected in my command prompt. Whatever I do in this command prompt should be reflected into my Azure. Connecting, wrap overing this cloud, which is nobody who is virtual, and this hardware component, my machine, together is called as VMware, virtual machine and virtualware. So this virtualware will help us connect this host, which is nobody physical, and a physical component, a virtual server and a physical server connected and started collaborating things is called as VMware. Here I do have my own OS. Yes, my machine, I have my Windows OS here. I have my laptop, I have my laptop's icons and everything. This is all physical. Yes, but what
Yeah.
about this? This is a machine that I have created. I have logged into some virtual platform called as AWS. I have logged into some virtual platform called Azure. And then I am intending to create a particular mission inside a platform, and I'm trying to connect that particular mission, a remote mission somewhere in this world, into my local mission. Okay, that is where this VM would help us, and VM will help us like an interactive part. So if you could see, there are many services available, like I can access your computer from anywhere in the globe using certain services. Yes or no? I can access your
Yeah.
cursor, I can access
Mm.
your website according, if you acknowledge. Yes, and you can do the vice
Yes.
versa the
Yeah.
same. How are we doing all these remote actions? There is some ritual connection between these two components called as something called as internet, and this internet is granting access to someone's mission inside, and that server is allowing this my IP to get access to your IP. Yes, basic understanding. Your machine might have a different IP and my machine could have a different IP. And when these two acknowledge, yes, okay, like a walkie-talkie, if you could see a walkie-talkie, let's imagine a walkie-talkie in your hand and a walkie-talkie in my hand, and I'm trying to pass in an information to you, and you are trying to pass in information. But the thing is that both these walkie-talkies should be stick together in the same frequency within the same range and address. Yes, only then this particular action, particular message will be transferred between two ends. Yes.
Yeah.
Likewise, this ritual mission, what it does, it is somewhere it is located somewhere in this physical mission. It is trying to connect this cloud with the help of some interface. That interface is called as ritualware. VMware. It creates an interface, see, a private cloud system for us to get interacted and for us to connect with any other host, any other cloud, or its any other physical machines server. That is called as VMware. Are you able to follow Mr. Karthikeyan?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I do not want to go bore you up at the first day itself. So there are